Senator Kruger, this morning when I came in the office, I read an emergency extender bill that was different than this emergency extender bill. And it's my understanding from the Finance Committee meeting that this is different because it has some language concerning borrowing for NIRA, $25 million. Is that correct? All right. So, would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, would continue to yield?
Let me perhaps, for a bit of an explanation. Section 15 of the bill authorizes the state to provide $25 million loan to NIRA for expenses at Aqueduct, Belmont, and the Saratoga racetracks. The loan will be repaid at the earliest to the end of the fiscal year or within 90 days of the signing of a memorandum of understanding with the designated operator of the video lottery terminals at Aqueduct. If NIRA does not repay the loan, the division of the lottery would intercept any vendor fees in order to satisfy the money due. The section also reduces the appropriation for the bonding in association with the creation of the VLT facility at Aqueduct.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, will you continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator DeFrancisco.
This is an interest-free loan, correct?
Yes, it is.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger,
Yes.
will you continue to yield? Yes, you will.
So, Senator Kruger, when in prior weeks you accused those of us who are voting no on an extender that it would stop government, government did pause for a while you added something else into an extender by further negotiations today. Is that not correct?
No.
No?
That's not correct.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger,
Yes.
will continue to yield? Senator Kruger will yield.
So how did the change from the original extender to the second extender that we're now voting on, how did that occur?
By action of the governor. Through you, Mr. President.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, will you
Yes,
yield?
I do.
Senator Kruger will yield.
Were there any negotiations between the staffs of the Senate and the Assembly and the governor before this extender bill was presented to us, this modified extender bill?
Through you, Mr. President.
Sure.
This was a five-way agreement on this addendum to the existing appropriation bill.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator Kruger will yield.
So by a process called negotiations, there was a five-way agreement that changed the extender that was originally was on our desk earlier this morning. Is that fair to say?
You could say that, yes, through you, Mr. President, Madam.
Now, Senator Kruger, would you continue to yield?
Senator
Yes,
Kruger will
I
continue to
do.
yield. Senator Kruger will yield.
So is it fair to say that if there was a will to have five-way negotiations at this point in time, there could be other changes to this extender, including keeping the parks open, for just an example?
Senator Kruger.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, will you yield?
Yes, I do.
He will yield.
Well, there's a will on this side of the aisle, and my question is, Senator Kruger, is there a way on your side of the aisle, since you control the Senate, to modify this further today and wait a couple more hours so that we can keep the parks open starting Memorial Day and through the summer?
Senator
Through you,
Kruger.
Mr. President. Firstly, tomorrow is another day, and another day might mean, and does mean, more negotiations. As you're aware, there is going to be a five-way leaders meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. that I know you're going to be participating in.
Thank you, Senator Kruger. Would Senator Kruger yield again?
Senator Kruger, will you yield?
Yes, I do.
Speaking of the five-way leaders meetings, that one happened last Tuesday, is that correct? Or was it Wednesday? I lose track of time. Last week, anyway.
Tuesday, I believe.
Okay. That being the case, can you tell me what leaders meetings, I mean between the leaders, not between staff, occurred since last week's public meeting till presently, till today?
Through you, Mr. President, none that I'm aware of.
Okay. Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, will you yield?
Yes, I do, Mr. President.
I know you were at that public meeting, as was I, and I recall specifically the governor asking the two leaders, the majority leader and the speaker, to get together to start the public conference committee meetings. Did that happen?
Through you, Mr. President, if my memory serves me correctly, he said try to get together to put together conference committees. Yes.
Would Senator Kruger...
And through you, Mr. President, we did announce ours.
Okay, Senator Kruger, would he continue to yield?
Senator Kruger, will you yield?
Yes, I do.
He will yield.
So did they try? Did the two leaders try? Did they call each other and say, let's start the public conference committee process? I know you mentioned Senator Sampson announced some committee membership, some committee memberships for the majority, which was only about 124 days after the governor presented his budget, a little bit late, but he did it. And thank God he at least moved, although it's a little slow, but he moved. At our urging, I would suggest. But in any event, did they try? Did they call each other? Did Senator Sampson call the Speaker or vice versa to try to set up the public conference committee?
Through you, Mr. President, I don't know.
All right. Would Senator Kruger continue to yield?
Senator Kruger will continue to yield.
Yes.
Could you tell me what the schedule for the conference committees is at this point in time? Do we have a schedule yet now that we're 100 and, let's see, let me get the right number here, 124 days since the governor submitted his budget?
Through you, Mr. President, yes, we have a schedule tomorrow, 10 a.m. We are going to be in five-way leadership meeting.
Senator Kruger, would he continue to yield?
Will you continue to yield?
Yes, I do.
Senator, will yield.
And at this point in time, are we going to have an announcement tomorrow as to a calendar for the rank and file, the people that are sitting on this floor, to participate in public conference committees?
Through you, Mr. President, I would suspect that before that happens, the Assembly has to make their appointments known.
Senator Kruger, one last question.
You wish him to yield for one last question?
Would he please yield?
Senator Kruger, will you yield for one last question?
Yes, I do.
He will yield for one last question.
The governor proposed a budget, and we've been passing extenders. This will be the 8th week in a row, I assume, that it'll pass. Can you tell me how much more we're spending on a weekly basis now than the governor's budget would have called for?
Through you, Mr. President, nothing.
Okay. Thank you, Senator Kruger.